Hi guys, today's video is going to be about ads and sponsored content and gifted items and how they can affect YouTubers and like how I think it's affected YouTube to this point, how I think that we've got here, and how I think they've impacted us all. Not just someone who makes content, but someone who watches content as well, how it's kind of affected the whole business of everything. So I have notes. I've actually just done an Instagram live, which you may have seen because I did post it kind of for 24 hours, just to kind of get a bit of a test, a bit of a like temperature test, I suppose. What do you call it? Like temperature check, to see how people felt about it, to see what you guys thought. And I got a lot of different questions, a lot of different opinions. Obviously, I still got a big general consensus of people saying if you like the person, if you trust the person, da 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 da, and that is great. But I think that even the most trusting person has become a little bit more suspicious of paid content in the last 6 months to a year, I would say. I know that I'm always a bit like that anyway. I'm always kind of suspicious of things, even though I know from my perspective that you can try and be as honest as you possibly can. I still know that there are those little exterior forces that can be affecting you without even you knowing about it. So I'm just going to run through this stuff. Number one, I think that obviously the biggest impact that ads and sponsorship and even gifted items have had is the distrust. The general feeling of distrust on YouTube now is massive compared to what it used to be. I mean, if you consider, I want to say it used to just be the people that were watching it and people were like, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that. But if you consider that the general consensus of people that make YouTube videos, even from people that don't watch YouTube videos, you know, if you talk about YouTube, the vibe is definitely that people can't be trusted. Influencers would be the word that they would use, and they can't be trusted because they're all just corporate shills. I don't think that's true at all, but I think as for so many things, the few have ruined it for the many. And now it's difficult to know who you can trust, and you have to just make a judgment call. And I would say with every kind of, well, with all content you see, just take it with a pinch of salt, because number one, if something's been paid for, if something has been provided, no matter what the person says, they can't be 100% objective. And I will get to that because I know I'm putting myself in with that, but we will get there. They can't be 100% objective, but also you don't know that people are disclosing that they are actually being paid, especially on Instagram, even though we had, and lots of people were considering them to be new rules. They weren't new rules, they were just further clarification of the rules there have always been for YouTubers. So occasionally, probably once every 18 months, there are various things that come out that are like, this is how you have to do it now. And they're never new rules, it's always about transparency. It's always about being as clear as possible. It's just every now and then we need someone to say, hey, do you know that that means this? Because it feels like an ever-changing thing, but really it's just a matter of, okay, well, this person's doing this and this person's doing this, and we need to bring everybody together, and everyone needs to be working from the same, or singing from the same hymn book. And that's basically the situation. So it's not a new guideline. They're not new rules, but ever since there was such a big like hoopla about the beginning of the year, everyone's a bit more like aware is the word I'm looking for. Everyone's a little bit more aware of it. Everyone was talking about it at the time, and suddenly you might have seen tons and tons of people talking about ad and gifted and blah blah blah, and that seems to have petered off a little bit, and I'm becoming more and more suspicious that people are just not disclosing perhaps like they used to. Now, as a hobby, YouTube is sustainable without any kind of payment, obviously. This, I think, is somewhere, this is a point that people kind of fall down on, and a point where you kind of lose some people, because I can't say it's not viable to make these videos without being paid, because it is. It's sustainable as a hobby, and I will always, always make YouTube videos, no matter what, regardless of whether or not I make zero. And to be quite honest with you, I don't make a lot of money from YouTube, unless ad placements come along, sponsored videos, specific spots. I don't make a tremendous amount of money from, it's like nowhere near enough to pay my bills. I have a part-time job as well, which potentially in the future may be a full-time job, because I can't live with the thing hanging over my head of like, will these people pay me, will they not? How much will I make from YouTube this month? I don't like that. I could never be a full-time YouTuber or a freelancer. I always need to have some kind of steady income as well, because I just, although I love the element of YouTube, the part of the YouTube thing that's like, you never know what might happen. You never know, like, suddenly something really cool could happen. The opportunities that I've had through making YouTube videos have been amazing. I would never want to kind of give up that little part of my week that I do dedicate to it. If it did drop off completely and there were no cool opportunities and no benefits financially or otherwise to doing this, then I would just go back to work full time and I would do this as a hobby. It is sustainable as a hobby. I would just do it kind of fair weather. I'd stay same with Instagram and Twitter and all those things. I would never go away completely. But for it to be something that I'm dedicating 2 days minimum, and really it's more because it's evenings and weekends, but 2 days of my week effectively that I could be working a regular job are taken up with, either I'll do things that I would have done on the weekend in those 2 days and then I transplace that and I'll work on the weekends, or however you want to slice it. 2 days of my week I will spend doing this, and I can't justify that if I don't earn any money doing it. So the next point I want to get to is the kind of money that you can earn doing YouTube videos that are sponsored. And we're not talking about ads that are like pre-roll ads, nothing like that. Not just the general ads that come up when you watch a video. This is sponsored content. So this is like when people are, this video is sponsored by X. So let's say you could be paid £1,000 to make one of those videos. That seems like a lot of money. And trust me, it seems like a lot of money at the time when you are earning it. But it doesn't take very long for you to realise that they're not actually paying for that video. Like, I've had things come up in the past and my dad has been like, that's a lot of money for that thing. God, how long will it really take you to do that thing when you consider your, minimum wage, or your minimum hourly rate is what I was talking about. Your hourly rate, it's this much. It's not really at all. They're not paying for that individual video. They're not paying for the content that you're making for them. They're paying you for all of the months that you weren't being paid, for all of the videos that you didn't get any money for. It all kind of culminates in that one sponsored video that you're making. So although it seems like, oh, can't believe that person got X amount of money for this, and I'm not talking about, the big timers who clearly are doing okay. I'm talking about just the regular YouTubers who month to month do not get anywhere near enough to pay their bills from YouTube, but put in a lot of hours per week doing it, and all of a sudden they get one sponsored gig. It's frustrating from a creator's perspective for that to be seen as some terrible thing, like you've massively sold out, because you could work 11 months and only get paid on the 12th. They are paying for the amount of time that you've worked for nothing to build up the audience, to build up the community that you've built up, and they're paying for your voice, effectively, that is trusted within that community. Now, it can only be trusted in that community if you don't lie and could just completely break that trust. And so that's still super important to me, just to be clear. I still cannot be bought. You cannot buy my positive review. You could buy my review, but it's going to be honest, it might not be a positive one. But you can't, I wouldn't sell out. It's not worth it, because as far as I'm concerned, the moment you do that, the moment you break that trust, the moment all of those opportunities go away. So it's a very, very short-sighted way of thinking of it. But I wanted to mention, I know it is like not everybody wants to know the ins and outs of it, but I wanted to mention the irritation from the content creator's perspective in those instances, because I get it. As a viewer, it's annoying to have to watch through things that you don't want to watch. But I want you to know that most people that you're watching, I don't know who you watch, but most average YouTubers are not rolling in it. And they will take those opportunities, and they will hopefully be picky. I've had opportunities come my way that I have said no to this year. I haven't done any paid content at all this year. There may be something coming, but we're in discussion period. But I haven't done anything at all this year because nothing's come up that I think is right. And if you do it all the time and it's the wrong stuff and it doesn't really work, that's all part of the breaking the trust then for me. And so I do try to be mindful about what I do choose to do. And then when you do choose to do something and people don't like it, or they think that it's the sellout part, I think that's like a bit of a trigger for most creators, is that they know they're not selling out. I'm talking about the many, not the few. And so it is frustrating then to be seen as like, oh, I can't believe you've done an ad. You have to get the money back from somewhere, because it just takes so much, and it's expensive to do the whole YouTube thing. I mean, not just YouTube specifically, because to be honest, you could do YouTube with your phone, and then YouTube itself is a free platform to use. But like blogging, if you use anything where you need hosting, the actual equipment that you use to film, and then you talk about the software. Software is expensive. If you buy good stuff, it's expensive. I mean, after 9 years, I've kind of steadily upgraded, but it's something that, and obviously going out and filming stuff and buying stuff, and I used to spend so much money filming hauls of stuff that, honest to God, I really wasn't even that bothered about, but I was buying things to talk about them, and I stopped that a few years ago. And you know about it because my views dipped, but I just realised it just wasn't sustainable. So anyway, we're going to move on, but I just wanted to point out that is, when people are talking about it being sustainable, it absolutely is sustainable to just make no money and have no benefit from YouTube if it is just a hobby. But if you want consistent content, you want regular videos, they have to be getting something out of it. I had someone comment recently that they were annoyed that someone had taken time out. In fact, when I said at the beginning of the year I was doing an extra day at work, someone was annoyed that I was only going to be doing X amount of videos instead of like 1 or 2 videos instead of 2 or 3. Like, but it's not paying my bills, and so I have to work more, and so I have less time for this. It is something that comes up frequently. And then on top of that, obviously, like I said with that particular example, there's a level of disappointment and resentment because people have become used to content just being available for them, and then they don't like it when you have to sit through something that's sponsored or paid or whatever. I get that, because as a viewer, it's annoying, but it is what it is. Now, what I was talking about earlier on about people being like unable to be objective, 100% objective. So someone mentioned recently, I was doing an Instagram live, and we were talking about PR. This is a couple of weeks ago now. And they mentioned PR, samples, and being honest and all this stuff, and how I felt about like, did I have to do this? Did I have to do that? And I was like, no, not at all. I never feel like I have to do anything specific. I never feel like, what's the word, obligated to say or do anything. If in my mind that's an ad, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if they're just sending me a product, then in my mind I was as honest as I possibly could be with you guys, and I was like, I'm not affected by this. The fact that they've brought me this product and they've given it me for free, I don't care if they never send me another product, so I'm not changing the way that I'm behaving in order to get more free stuff. I really truly thought I was immune to this. And then they brought up the fact that I wouldn't have had that product. They didn't say it in so many words, but this is kind of how I've reconciled it in my mind. I wouldn't have had that product had I not been sent it as PR. They put the product in my hand. So, for example, to give Pixie as an example, because they are fantastic. When it comes to marketing, they are great with this. They have sent me and so many other people loads and loads of skincare. If I've got this much Pixie skincare, why would I go out and buy more? And then the minute you guys say, what's your favourite moisturiser? It's a Pixie moisturiser, because that's the one I'm using right now. I have more Pixie skincare than I know what to do with. And so I have no reason to go out and try more stuff. It's like subliminally got into me. Like I swear, it was not intentional. I did not know it was happening. And then all of a sudden I thought, you are exactly right. Like, there are only certain brands that I will talk about because I only have certain brands. And like I said before, I stopped going out and buying things for the sake of videos because I felt like I was spending more money than I was making. And so I was then relying almost exclusively on brands that were being sent to me. And so that affected the content that I was putting out there. It affected the favourites that I was putting out. It affected what I was recommending to you because I was only testing the products that were being sent to me. So although all of my opinions were honest, I was being... I can't be objective because I don't have all of the products at my disposal. I don't have all of the choice. If I'm going out and I'm buying the things for myself and I'm testing them, then I am objective because I saw that on a shelf and it appealed to me as a consumer. I tried it. I liked it or I didn't like it. If you're sending me something, I can say I don't care that they don't send me more stuff. And that's 100% true. I can say, you know, Bobbi Brown could just stop sending me products tomorrow. If they send me so much stuff, I might maybe talk about 10% of it. And I've never ever have I had an email from any of these brands like really massively chasing me about talking about these products. It's not something that I'm worried about when it comes to brand relationships. I'm not really worried about brand relationships at all. But still, they managed to get in there and affect the way that I am doing things because they sent me the product. They put the product in my hand. And so we have to accept that that's happening. Even to those of us that want to be as honest as possible, it's happening. And there's not a lot we can do about it unless we just stop accepting PR, which is just not viable because we can't have, it just won't work. Like if we just stop, I know there was someone, I didn't watch the video, but I know I saw something come up in my feed that was someone that had stopped accepting PR, and then a few weeks later the next video was like, this was a mistake. And I thought, yeah, without even watching that video I can probably guess why. And it's not, it doesn't work the same way as you can't do no ads, you can't do no sponsored content, no gifted stuff is also difficult. I am trying to combat that by doing these shop with me's and like being a little bit more giving you kind of a more of a cross section of what's available. I recently did the beauty one. I also have a beauty haul coming, and that was exciting for me. I haven't done that in a while, a proper beauty shop. And I will be doing that a little bit more often because I do, once I realised it was happening, I thought, okay, I need to dilute this a little bit. I need to be getting out there and seeing what I want for myself. But again, it has to be affordable, it has to be viable to continue. So I wanted to talk about a little bit how the ad gifted thing works now. It's not changed, like I say, it's just new confirmation on the guidelines we've already had. So anything where a brand has, there's been a prior agreement. Let's say a brand says to you, I will give you this product if you will make this video. That is an ad. You would be insane, the average person, to agree to that. I wouldn't agree to that. I recently agreed to something that was very, very similar and I will not do it again. But that would be an ad. Anything where they have said, you give me a video in exchange for. It could be money, it could be a product, it could be a trip, it could be a service, it could be anything. That is an ad. They have control because they have requested something in exchange. That is an ad. If it's just gifted, so if, for example, someone sends me a lipstick and they say, we're going to send you this lipstick to review, or they may not even say anything. They may just send me the lipstick. That's fine. Nothing's been agreed. I haven't agreed to do anything with it. I haven't agreed to ever talk about it. Like, for example, with the Bobbi Brown products, no one has ever said to me, we're sending you these, we need you to do this. Never. And maybe eventually they'll stop sending me products if I don't talk about them more, and that's fine. But there is a distinct difference there between we have given you this thing with no strings attached and we have given you this thing, whatever it might be, and you have to do this. That is what the difference is between an ad and not an ad. The grey area then becomes with the whole, like, so, for example, to give myself as an example, I did a thing with Hertz recently. Now, I ended up just creating that into a standalone ad at the beginning of the video, which I realised after the fact was a mistake, because in my mind I was thinking, what I would like to do now is do ads where it's just a standalone ad, you know, like a pre-roll ad, and you're like, this is the ad, and then you get to the regular content, and you don't have to worry about which part of this is being paid for, it's done. I thought that was a really clean way of doing it. But obviously when you click on the video 30 seconds in and it's still an ad, you're thinking, this whole video is an ad and I'm not going to watch the rest of it. I think that probably is what happened for a lot of people. And so I completely understand that you didn't understand that was my point. So I perhaps wouldn't do that again. But that video was part of an agreement where they gave me car hire and I produced multiple pieces of content for them. It wasn't actually worth it to me when it came down to it at the end, because the car hire was not anywhere near the value of the content that I gave them ultimately. And that was my mistake. People then also reacted to it, is the word I'm looking for, in the same way as if I'd been paid, which I hadn't. And so I personally would not make an agreement like that again, because I think that people can react badly to sponsored content no matter what it is. I mean, that was super relevant It was alongside a video. It just was the perfect mix for me, and yet still people don't always respond well to it. Again, frustrating, but even more so because it wasn't actually paid. It was a gifted experience, a gifted service. Now, previously, that wasn't clear that would have been an ad. I would have said at the beginning of the video, our car hire was gifted by Hertz, and that video would have been received in a completely different way. That was the grey area when this was all clarified at the beginning of the year. People were like, so how does this work? So I'm just putting this to you right now. Anything where a video has been agreed from me, I mean, this should be from anyone, but I can only speak for myself. Anything where a video or any content has been agreed in exchange for anything else is an ad. If I don't put that it's an ad, it's not an ad. I will always be as transparent as I possibly can be, and that is the situation. If you feel that I'm doing something, if you watch this whole video and you feel that I'm misunderstanding or not, you know, I'm not getting the guidelines in the way that you are, please feel free to let me know. But I think that I'm fairly clear on them, and this is the way that I'm going to do things. Now, when it comes to gifted items, it's a little bit of a difficult one for me because I've got lots of products that I'm not even sure what was gifted anymore. Someone suggested moving forward that I put a sticker on all of the items that come in that have been sent to me, which is a great idea. But that's the only thing where I will never knowingly deceive you. But there is a possibility that I may talk about a product in the future that has been sent to me, but it's not new and there's been never any agreement about it. And it's just something that either I don't like or I do like and I want to mention. And I just don't think about it in the moment to mention it because it's been just the way of things for so long. And it's muscle memory, unfortunately. I will never do that intentionally. And if someone points it out or recognises that they think that something's been said, please, again, feel free to mention it and I will annotate or do whatever I can in kind of like post. But yeah, that's the only part of it that I cannot guarantee because there's definitely been times since the guidelines have come in when I've put something out there and gone, oh my God, there was this one thing in this video. Let's say I was doing a vlog and at some point I wore something and it had been gifted, or at some point I wore a lipstick and I said, oh, by the way, this lipstick is. It just is very tricky, that one. But that's really the only one. Everything else is really black and white for me. It's an ad or it's not an ad, you know. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. Now, I did have a few questions from Instagram. I'm just going to see whether or not I can get into them because it can be a little bit tricky. Right, okay. Sometimes you can only see a little bit of the thing. Okay, one of the questions was, what is monetization? Which is a good question because why would you know what monetization is? It's like a really YouTube specific word or like a creative specific word. Monetization just basically means making money from something. So to monetize your content would be to allow ads, for example, on YouTube. It would be you tick a box, you say monetize, and it rolls ads automatically. But it could be anything. If you said I was going to monetize my blog, it could be in any way. Somehow you are going to make money from that. Are you more or less inclined to accept sponsorship now that the regulations have changed? Again, they haven't changed, and no. I am just more careful about the agreements that I would make. So before, like I have in the past messaged brands and said, okay, I'd love to talk about your brand. And this doesn't, honestly, I've had lots and lots of people say no to this because there's a lot of people that want products now. And I don't really do it very often anymore because the rejection, guys. So more recently, I was contacted by Wet n Wild and I said, I would love to talk about Wet n Wild. If you send me like a bunch of different products, like enough products to make a video, I will make a video about Wet n Wild. Now they didn't send me that, but afterwards I thought, I have to be careful because that would be an ad. I have said to them, I will make a video if you send me this. And so, although there would be no, like, they would never see the video ahead of time, I wouldn't be obligated. It's difficult. So that's the only thing. I haven't, I'm not more or less inclined to accept things, but I am more careful about what I agree ahead of time because it's not an ad. In my mind, that's not an ad. They've sent me those products because I wanted to make a video about the products. They didn't you know, I don't know. But I don't want to, I'm not making ads that are not paid for, because people, if you're going to respond badly, if you're going to respond badly to a video, I want to get paid for that video. That has to be a benefit. Do you feel like other influencers' sponsored content changes your shopping behaviours? That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I definitely have seen other people talk about things, and I've thought, oh, that's really interesting. In fact, I did actually buy something last year. The vitamin C serum, I can't remember what the proper name for it is, from Kiehl's, was all over the shop. And I was really intrigued, and I went and got a sample, and it was amazing. And I did buy it, and it was like a £45–50 serum. And I bought that. So yeah, probably. I have been influenced. Will this affect what sponsorship or ads you take on, and how do you think it will affect influencers? Right, so I think, again, I mean, we're like halfway through the year now, and the last time we were talking about guidelines was January. So again, I don't think that this is a matter of this is a new thing, but I do think people started doing things differently once the guidelines were in place, or the guidelines were clarified. Have you had brands approach you wanting only positive reviews on products that you didn't like? Never. I've definitely had, I mean, when it's a sponsored video, so, right, okay, so I'm about to be doing something for a mouthwash brand, and it happens to be a mouthwash brand that we use already. I'm not saying that had it not been, that I wouldn't also have accepted the deal providing I enjoyed the product, but they are going to send me X product, and then I have X amount of weeks to trial this product. Now, at that time, I can say no. If I test out the product and I'm like, this is not working for me, let's just scrap it, no one's losing out. Well, I'm losing out, but no one's losing out there. No one's going to be angry. The brand's not going to be, you know, I'm not going to be on a blacklist or anything. The agency that I'm working through is not going to be cross. It's not, cross is such a mum word. Every time I say it, it's such a mum word. It's not something that would put me off. I wouldn't feel like I couldn't say no. And I definitely would not. If it was I mean, it depends on what the product is, because something like that, it's kind of hard to say that I would try something like that and really dislike it. But let's say it was a lipstick, or it was, so like a liquid lipstick. I'm trying to think of something that I would try and immediately be like, oh God, this is horrible. A liquid lipstick. I could not apply a liquid lipstick on, and I'm saying this, and I know people have done it, which again brings us back to the few ruin it for the many. I could not apply a liquid lipstick on camera and pretend it was great when it wasn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't. And thankfully, no one has ever offered me money to, or asked me to do it. But I have had brands in the past, obviously they're not going to want you to talk about, like, they're not going to pay you to say something bad. And so every time you do a sponsored video, effectively they're paying for a good review, but it's up to the person who's making that video to say no if they don't like the product. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of trying to find the way to word it. You can always say no. If you send me the products and I don't like it, I say no. That's not difficult. And so, yeah, like no one is going to pay a YouTuber to talk about a product badly. You know what I mean? So I suppose kind of, but no one's asking me to lie. There's a lot of kind of the same, to be honest. So I'm going to leave it there because this is already an incredibly long video and my camera is flashing at me. But if you've got any other questions, please leave them in the comments. We can have a whole discussion about it. I wanted to put this out because it's just been on my mind recently, and I think we haven't talked directly about sponsorship and ads and gifts and all that stuff for ages. I've got a video that's always linked in my information bar, an old one, and I thought I'd just add this one to that, so it's got to be a bit more of an update. Because I haven't really talked much about it since the guidelines were clarified. So yes, I hope this has been useful. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And it's a really long video, so if you have not subscribed to me already and you've got this far, why not? But I will see you guys in my next one. Bye. Every time